Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into the fascinating, often misunderstood world of transactional lending and loan sponsorships in real estate.
Yeah, it's a space that can seem really complex from the outside.
Exactly. Imagine you're looking at one of these deals full of jargon, complex relationships. Our mission today is really to cut through that, pull out the key insights, and give you a shortcut to understanding how these things work, why they exist, and, what the players actually care about.
Right.
We're going to unpack some specific examples from our source material to really bring this to life.
That's right. And we have some really direct, candid insights from someone deep in the trenches of these deals. This isn't just about the financial mechanics. It's about getting inside the heads of the different parties, understanding their motivations, their risks. That's crucial if you want to quickly grasp the nuances here.
Okay, so let's kick things off. This concept of transactional lending or loan sponsorship, our source material describes it as a way to, quote, wedge ourselves into deals and make money. How does that actually work?
Well, what's fascinating is the core idea. Instead of the borrower putting up their own capital for a certain piece of the deal, the transactional lender steps in. They basically say, hey, Mr. Borrower, use my money for this bit. And the goal is just to get paid a fee for providing that short-term capital.
Okay. So it's like providing liquidity.
Exactly. Providing liquidity or acting as a bridge, maybe just until a longer-term financing structure clicks into place.
So it's definitely not a long-term play for them. That seems key. Our source is pretty blunt. I'm not dying for it. I don't really go out there and do like a hard sell on it.
Your slides up.
This isn't about being emotionally invested in the project's success down the line, is it?
Not at all. And that highlights a really critical distinction. The transactional lender is laser focused on a very specific, very limited time frame. We're talking getting their principal back plus their fee, usually within a few months. They're absolutely not a private money partner, not a long-term equity holder. Understanding that perspective is vital.
Right. So they're like financial commandos in and out quickly, not settling in for the long haul. Okay, so our material centers on a specific deal. A $3 million capital commitment inside a bigger $15.6 million loan. Can you walk us through the backstory on this one?
Yeah, this one's interesting because it highlights how these deals sometimes, just happen. So this $15.6 million deal, it was already moving forward. Loan docs were drafted. But then the borrower's original partner, the one supposed to fund what they call the gap commit, well, they bailed.
Okay. Left them in a lurch.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So the main lender, this group called Phoenix, they reached out to our source, essentially asking for a favor, like, hey, could you help this guy out?
So the transactional lender came in late to the game on this one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is different from another deal mentioned, the Urban Village one, where they were apparently involved from the jump right from the beginning.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, because they came in late on that $3 million piece. That changes the paperwork, right? You can't just use the original docs.
Correct. An amendment is needed. The first set of documents didn't mention them at all. So for this specific $3 million deal, you have to add an amendment spelling out the transactional lender's terms, their rate sheet, their exit strategy, all of that.
Whereas if they were in from the start, like that Urban Village deal.
Then their terms are just baked right into the main loan documents from day one. Much cleaner administratively.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit to Phoenix, the main lender. Our source says they're typically funding much bigger projects like $50 to $100 million. So this $12 million principal projects is kind of an off one for them. Who is Phoenix? Why are they doing these deals?
Well, Phoenix is a significant player. They're backed by a mix of family offices and what's described as a sovereign nation, specifically mentioned as the Seminole tribe out of Florida. So they have substantial backing, and they do extensive due diligence before they commit capital. They're not messing around.
And they take an equity piece, sometimes up to 35%. What does that actually mean for Phoenix?
It's fascinating, really. It's both opportunity and risk for them. That equity piece gives them a slice of the high side, the potential upside profit, if the deal does well. But, and this is critical, it also saddles them with significant liability because they're partners on the operating agreement. If the borrower defaults, vendors, contractors, they can sue Phoenix directly.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, Phoenix can be on the hook for some big bills. Now, they will pay them, our source indicates, but then they'll turn around and go after the borrower to recover that money.
So that explains why Phoenix insists on skin in the game from the borrower, or in this case from the transactional lender acting on the borrower's behalf. How does that work? And how long is that capital locked up from Phoenix's point of view?
Right. Phoenix needs that alignment of interest. They want to know the borrower or someone providing capital for them is committed. Now, for Phoenix, that capital commitment, it's tied up for the length of the stabilization. That can easily be a year, maybe 2 years.
A year or two. Okay.
Yeah. And Phoenix controls that money. They dictate how it gets paid out, usually in tranches, advising the borrower on which bills need paying. They're very hands-on with the funds they allocate.
Okay. So this brings us right back to the transactional lender. If Phoenix holds capital for a year or two, how on earth does the transactional lender stick to their plan of getting out in just a few months? This is that bridge idea again, right?
Yes, exactly. It's a critical difference in perspective and structure. The transactional lender is crystal clear in their terms. Our source says the max I'll do is 4 months.
4 months max.
Max. And they put that right into the escrow instructions. So within that window, ideally, they want it done in 2 or 3 months. Phoenix is expected to perform whatever action gets the transactional lender repay their principal and fee. If Phoenix doesn't perform within that agreed time frame,
Then what?
then the transactional lender can pull their money out of escrow. They can basically blow up the deal because Phoenix didn't meet their side of that specific bargain regarding the exit timeline.
Okay, so if things really go sideways, if there's a breach, who does the transactional lender sue? Is it the borrower they originally helped, or is it Phoenix? Our source seemed pretty clear on this.
Yeah, the logic presented is quite direct.
Yeah.
You go after the entity with the deeper pockets and the greater liability in this specific structure.
Mm-hmm.
Given Phoenix's significant equity stake and their larger capital base, the transactional lender would sue Phoenix if there's a breach related to their agreement.
Makes sense. Now, the source mentioned getting some pushback talking to a family office that said things like, why would somebody want to do this? Or, I've never seen something like this. What does that tell us about how this niche is understood or misunderstood?
Oh, that's classic. It really highlights how people often assume all real estate finance works the same way. They think in terms of traditional long-term loans or equity investments.
Yeah.
But transactional lending, it serves a very unique, very specific need. It's not about the general economy or the project's final use, really. From the transactional lender's view, it's purely about bridging a specific capital gap for a very short time. It fills a niche.
Right. It's solving a temporary problem.
Exactly.
There was also some confusion mentioned about the loan amounts, the $15.6 million total versus the $12 million project cost, and how the $3 million commitment fits in. Can you clarify that?
Absolutely. So the $15.6 million, that's the total loan facility. But only $12 million of that is earmarked for the actual project costs, construction, materials, things like that.
And the other $3.6 million?
That extra amount, the $3.6 million, is set aside as reserves. Think interest reserves or overrun reserves. It's money held back for potential holding costs during the project or if costs unexpectedly go over budget. The transactional lender's $3 million commitment, that's tied to the $12 million project cost portion. It's part of the capital needed for the actual work.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And our source actually noted something interesting there. Normally for a $12 million project, the skin in the game might be closer to $1.2 million.
Yeah.
But Phoenix asked for the full $3 million here, specifically because this deal was smaller than their usual ones. They wanted more commitment up front.
Ah, interesting. And what about that point where a request for documents came up, but the transactional lender wasn't ready to just hand them over? What's the usual flow there?
Yeah, the standard process, or at least the one described here, usually starts with a conversation. You talk through the core terms, first how much capital, what's the time frame for getting it back, what's the fee. You get a handshake, basically, or at least a clear verbal agreement on those key points. Then you move to drafting the detailed legal documents.
So agree on the what before you spend time on the how in the paperwork.
Exactly. The goal is to get alignment on what will be in the documents before you invest the time and legal effort in actually drafting them all up.
Okay, one final, really practical point. Structuring the deal, especially with multiple investors. The source talked about moving away from individuals wiring money separately and using an SPV, or loan participation. What does that mean for an investor involved?
All right, this is all about efficiency. Imagine trying to coordinate, say, 15 different people, all wiring funds individually into an escrow account for one specific commitment. It can get messy.
Yeah, I can see that.
So instead, they structure it as a loan participation. This typically means setting up an SPV, a special purpose vehicle. It's just a separate legal entity created for this specific transaction. All the individual investors, they fund the SPV's bank account. Then the SPV makes one single wire transfer into the escrow account for the full amount.
Ah, so it streamlines everything.
Massively.
Yeah.
It simplifies the transaction, cuts down on the admin hassle, and keeps the accounting much cleaner for everyone involved.
Wow, okay. That was a genuinely deep dive into a very specific but clearly important corner of the financial world. We've really seen how this transactional lending wedges into complex deals, the mechanics of managing risk and reward, and the realities behind big financing from both the short-term lender and the long-term funder's perspective.
Yes, and understanding those different roles is so key, isn't it? You've got the short-term bridge financier who needs a quick exit versus the major lender like Phoenix with equity, long-term involvement, and direct liability. It really shows how different players assess and manage risk based entirely on their own goals and their position in the project's life cycle. It's quite an intricate dance of capital.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, next time you hear about a major development or some complex funding deal, maybe think about the hidden layers. Think about those short-term capital providers, the ones who might come in, provide a crucial bit of funding, take their fee, and get out, enabling the bigger players to keep things moving. And it leaves you with an interesting question, I think. In this world of increasingly complex projects, maybe the real skill isn't just finding the deals, but knowing precisely when and how to make your exit.